Hey guys, me again, Orkslayer. Where we last left off, let's see, checking. Deku got hit in the face by All Might that completely shattered his helmet, causing Deku eternal bleeding in his brain, which Eri quickly fixed. Then they drained the blood out of his head. Now, like I said in the last video, I believe after this is where Island comes into play. Deku is like trying to decide between who to take. He's like, should I take Eri or Kirishima or Mina? Should I not even take any of them? As he's trying to juggle, like, who does he want to take? Plays it through his head after, like, gets tickets. Eventually just, like, deciding it on a coin flip. They're like, alright. Heads, I go with Kirishima. Tails, I go with Mina. And whoever loses that has to play against Eri. Whoever wins that has to go against Kirishima. And then he does it a couple more times. Then it's just like, alright, it seems like I'm taking Kirishima. As he speaks with Kirishima saying, yo, we're going to Island. Pack your things. And it's like, what about Eri and such? He's like, I flipped a coin. It's like, how do you flip a coin for 3 people? I'm not explaining the process. Get your stuff packed up. We're heading to Island. It's like, alright then. As they're loaded up and taken off. And they take off. Eventually, getting there. And it's going sightseeing, you could say. They actually arrive at the little test thing before anyone else. So they test it out, and Kirishima and Deku aren't like blindingly fast, but they can get it done within maybe like 20 seconds or so, going over that large place as Deku blows things and destroys things with fires and such. So he gets around 10 seconds. Well, I believe Deku gets his thing done in 13 seconds, or that's Bakugo. So I'll say he gets things done within like 18 seconds, using a mixture between his atom abilities and his natural speed and such. Also his guns. Or his gun. Kirishima gets a pretty similar amount of time. With using shock and such, like, help him with his thing. Until eventually, they meet the girls and such, after they, like, go looking at other, like, technology and such, eventually running into Momo and such. Momo, Araka, and I believe it was Jiro. As the two of them start chatting up these 3. Sorry. They actually walk past Togata or Lemillion. Yeah, his name's Togata. Lemillion and such. Mirio, there we go. They walk past Mirio and such. As they're walking past them, it's like, so, Deku, you still feeling good about after like All Might pretty much almost caved your skull in? It's like, I'm doing fine. As Melissa and Mirio say, wait, All Might almost caved your skull in? It's like, yeah, we were doing we were doing exams, midterm exams or whatever. He almost caved my skull in, like I said. Eternal bleeding and such, nothing major. It's like, you almost died again. It's like, I'm fine. As Mirio's like, All Might really went that far? He's like, I guess he thought I could handle more, but he either hit me with most of his power, if not all, to going beyond how much. Because I haven't felt that bad in my head since the Nomu incident at the USJ. That thing hit me in the skull so many times. I'm surprised I didn't have internal bleeding then. It just really broke my skull. Thankfully, though, I was able to hold on just a bit. Goes to show you that All Might really did have that thing outclassed by a lot. Anyways, we gotta get going. As they just go walk to grab something to eat. Mirio then questions All Might on this. You almost killed a kid. So does like Melissa. She's like, yeah, you almost killed a kid, All Might. What the heck? As he's like, oh, come on. It wasn't. He survived in the end. It's like, yes, you almost killed him, though. It's like, hey, it's not my fault if you can't take the full amount of power. As Mirio's like, God, All Might. Seriously, what am I gonna do with you? How have you not killed anyone before? As he's like, extreme holding back. It's like, alright, start practicing it again. As Mirio goes off to talk with Melissa a bit more, as he talks about his quirk being able to drag people, like, phase people into the ground or himself. As, like, with how I do things, when Mirio gets it, I'm pretty sure that instead of just, like, him having the physical strength, instead of that, it's actually that the quirk itself is enhanced majorly. Like, we don't know, because most of the heroes before All Might all had quirks. Except for, well, including the first one. All of them had quirks. But we don't know, like, did they get the quirk, like the enhancement quirk, like All Might? Or is it just because he was quirkless? I'm working on the assumption that it doesn't give them the enhancement like All Mights or Dekus, but it enhances their already existing quirks and such. So, for instance, like, except if they have mutation. I go off the bias that when it comes to mutation, when it comes to mutation, they do get the All Might enhancer because it would just make sense. But anyways, as I was saying, Mirio is able to actually see if he goes completely intangible. Is that he can actually see, and the restraints of his quirk are like more than like cut in half, or like 75% gone. With him able, instead of just doing it like being his body, whatever he touches can be affected. So if you want to like grab All Might and sink him into the ground, he could. Stuff like that is how I play Mirio. But anyway, as I digress. Sorry. Mirio and them set off. Eventually, Deku and them run into Ida, Kaminari, and instead of, then I'll say Sero this time. Cold. Since Mineta isn't part of it. As they're all talking, they're like getting ready and such. And when they like get dressed, Deku and Kirishima arrive in Deku arrives in a sharp green suit with a tie, with Kirishima arriving with a deep crimson maroon with black and a bow tie instead of a normal tie. As they arrive, they have like their hair like properly made, like combed back. Deku's like, I told you, it's nice to look proper, ain't it? As Kirishima's like, yeah, when we were down in Rapture looking at some of those fancy pictures, I always thought I would like a suit like that. Look at us now. Proper suits and all. So, how should we do this? How should we do this? As they're all talking about what they're probably going to be doing at the party and such, eventually the whole lockdown, well, not what they're going to do at the party, but they start talking about the party and how they got their clothes and blah, 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 blah. As then Deku and them always goes into the lockdown, it's just like, what the? As they're looking around, Deku's like, flashback real quick to Rapture being trapped inside of a metal box. He's like, oh, no. I didn't escape from. We didn't escape from there a few years ago just to get locked up on an island. All right. Hey, you there, blondie girl. As Melissa's like, what? As he's like, how do we get out of this metal or this building? She's like, the security activated. We should be able to like get done with it if we go upstairs. As they're like, all right, that's what we're doing. Everyone upstairs now. As it's like, oh, all right. As they all start running upstairs, it's like, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. As everyone's like, Deku, why are you freaking out? He's like, think about it. If things go into lockdown, how difficult is it going to be to get out of here? This island, top class place. I don't have any of my equipment, so I could drill out of a wall if I wanted to. As Momo's like, what's the composition of it? It's like, trust me, you wouldn't even be able to make it. It would take too much of your fat lipids, as you called them. As they go up and get through it, they start smashing through robots as they leave people behind to deal with things as they typically would. When they run into the two guys upstairs that have, I believe it's the guy who turns into like a purple Hulk. Then there's, does he have blades or is that a different thing? I forget the other one's quick. Kirishima and Todoroki deal with it instead of like Bakugo and such. And they keep pushing upwards as eventually Melissa, Deku, and Mirio are the last ones left. Deku's like, alright. And as well as Uraraka. It's like, alright, how are we gonna get up there? It's like, if as they start thinking about it, Deku literally just starts climbing. As he like punches into the wall, sort of like clawing his way up. As he gets up, it's like, alright, throw up Blondie. It's like, she's like, which one? Girl, Melissa, whatever her name is. Mirio, come up too. Uraraka, make yourself float. We'll catch you. As they all get up. Instead of like being like forced down. They eventually clamber their way to the whole, gateway thing. Wait. Uraraka gets left behind in second thought. And sorry. As Deku and Melissa are making their way to the thing, I'll leave Mirio behind, because he says he didn't just want to leave Uraraka there. As they start tearing through the robots, Deku's like, alright, Melissa, you get in there, do your thing, and we'll be done and over with. Got it? She's like, alright. As they make it in there, Deku's like, okay. Start doing your thing, I'll keep an eye on your back. As Deku, grabs, how they have, that little metal fence, Deku breaks it off and, sharpens it. Like, he's gonna use it like a spear. She's like, as they get done, and she unlocks the lockdown. Deku's like, alright, we're getting out of here. As then they, get shot at. As Deku, has Melissa take cover behind him, as he takes a shot to his arm. Doesn't get very far, but, As he's like, as the guy says, well, what do you know? I guess big brothers are kind of bulletproof. He's like, Deku, preps, the little spear in his hand, as he's like, as he has David. It's like, now, we're gonna acquire something here, and should be all fine and dandy. As Deku still has Melissa behind his back, as it's like, alright, as they start walking over and take the thing, when Deku, takes his eyes, off the guy for a single second, he then uses that chance to, grab a bunch of metal, wrap it around Deku, and send them in, against a wall. Deku's like, dang it, this isn't comfortable. As Deku, starts trying to move, but the guy's like, it ain't gonna be that much. As then Deku slowly but surely is breaking, bending the metal, as Melissa is, held at gunpoint and they take the thing. With the whole exchange between, David's, assistant and such. Eventually, Deku getting free and using that piece of metal he had, throws it, catching the red hair guy off guard as it impales him in the stomach. Deku then rushes forward, clocking the assistant in the face, and I'm pretty sure they had another guy, which Deku then tries to take care of, but I'm pretty sure he's the one with, the blade arms. I'm not entirely sure because I know there was a guy with the purple Hulk. So I'll just say for definite this guy is, and if not, I'm sorry. As Deku charges at him, he gets sliced several times in his arms, in his chest. Deku's bleeding, but his body's already repairing itself. As Deku uses telekinesis, as he pretty much picks the guy up and uses freezing on him as well, as the guy is frozen stiff, as Deku rushes forward and shatters him. Deku then walks over to Redhead, picks him up, and smashes him in the face just for good measure, as he's completely knocked out with everything saved. Yay, everything's saved. Now I'll go forward to the pool day. Kaminari still does the whole thing about inviting Kirishima and Deku and such, as everyone's invited to the pool and they have a nice day. As when they're doing swimming, Deku and Kirishima actually swim, as they are quick underwater, surprisingly so. As beforehand, people heard how they had to walk on the bottom of the ocean, but that's because they had their armor and such on. But with this, they're just zipping around, they just go pretty quickly. Sorry. As Deku and Kirishima are in the end racing Todoroki. Well, Deku's racing Todoroki, as he's swimming very hard, much harder than Kirishima. As they make it there, as it's about the same thing, as Deku ends up winning the race. Since, remember, his thing doesn't rely on quirks, it relies on Adam. As he literally swims all the way across and makes it there, as he's I win, suck it. That out of the way, they eventually go to the thing, with Deku running again into Shigaraki. Deku and them were all grouped together, as Deku talked about how he didn't really need to do anything. He just tagged along with his siblings, as he just sits there at the fountain or wherever. As Shigaraki does the whole, "Hey, it's you," as he puts his hand around Deku's neck. Deku's oh, crap. I could freeze your arm, break it, or even burn you. But he's yeah, but that wouldn't stop me from touching your neck. No matter how good, even if you have a minor healing factor, which I'm pretty sure you don't, you wouldn't even be able to survive getting your neck decayed at the severe rate as I would do it at. Just one little touch on your neck, bam, your windpipes and everything disintegrated. Nothing but a head rolling on the ground. Now, answer my questions, and does the whole blah blah blah. Deku answers his question, then Shigaraki buzzes out there. As then they all go to the thing, as really no one really has to do the remedial, I believe it's remedial classes, as they typically would, the anime, since with Eri and all of them being Eri being there instead of Mineta, that really doesn't change. Kirishima and Mina passed due to them having a better understanding of tactics and such, since Kirishima and them did use similar things. They would, if they were blocked off, they would just go through buildings to avoid confrontation, and Mina knows that Kirishima could use things to shock them, and she had her own personal shock person there, so she just figured and put 2 and 2 as they were allowed to go on. Mina and them are talking on the bus, as Deku's talking with Uraraka a bit. Well, Tsuyu, not Uraraka. Speaking with Tsuyu about things about underwater, rapture, and other things. And actually ask her a bit about her time at her school during the time when Deku was, in rapture. She talks about how she didn't I'm pretty sure Tsuyu didn't have a lot of friends aside from that one snake girl that I can't remember the name of. But she talks about her family and such. Deku's that's pretty neat. So you're essentially a secondary mom or something? She's kinda, and I guess I would make you a secondary dad. I'm a brother, but I guess you're kind of right. This is kind of confusing, and she's like, it very well is. It is. As it's like, want to stop talking about it? She's like, no. Deku's like, funny. As Kirishima's talking with Bakugo and such about how Deku and him, how they like tore through the Eye Island thing. Mina and the other two are like looking at Deku and Kirishima, thinking about how different they are now. Like, they've been able to be out for so long. Mina and Eri were able to change rapidly. Surprisingly, like, given that they grew up in Rapture, that they were so easily adjusted. And that was so weird that Deku and Kirishima took so long compared to them. Kirishima adapted much faster than Deku, given that, but Deku took a few years to get out of that, like, little thing of his. Sorry if it isn't like that. No. Sorry if it isn't like that, how I've explained it in the past, but, you know. They talk about how Deku used to keep to himself, aside from, like, their little family here. Speaking how Deku wouldn't talk to girls, guys, heroes, or anything. And Deku did help with a few things, you know. But, yeah, you get the point that Mina's trying to make. And Eri's like, yeah, I guess you're right. Like, but I think Deku's always just been social. It's just that it's always been sort of pushed down since he was quirkless beforehand. It's like, Mina's like, I guess you're kind of right. But I don't see why people wouldn't like him. He's always been nice. Yeah, and you've had a crush on him for like 6 years now, so drop it. As Mina's like, wait, what are you talking about? It's like, come on. I had a crush on Kirishima for years. Kind of still do, but, you know, that's besides the point. They're whispering this, by the way. Like, I put those, like, little seeds of Mina liking Deku and Eri liking Kirishima. I just thought it would make sense, considering, like, they may have grown up together, but it's, like, always been a point, like, they are siblings. Well, Kirishima's Mina's sibling by, like, since Kirishima was adopted, and the adopted parents had Mina later on. And then Deku and Eri, not related at all. But I just thought it was, like, along the lines of the whole, you know, like, the younger sister of the guy who is friends with another guy likes the guy that her brother is friends with. Sort of a situation is what I thought about. By the way, Deku does not reciprocate those feelings whatsoever, as far as Mina can tell. Same thing with Eri. As they're talking with each other, eventually a bus comes to a stop. As they're, like, waiting around for Aizawa to give them the yellow clear, the Wild Wild Pussycats, as it's actually Eri who notices them. She's like, yeah, they've been heroes for a really long time. And then it's the whole crack, and then they walk over and grab Eri by the face, like, choose your words very carefully. As Deku pushes in, sort of muscling, like, using his, like, pretty much just pushing, Pixie Bomb. There we go, forgot. No, wait. Yeah, it's Pixie Bomb, Mandalay, Ragtail, and Tiger. I'm here to make you regret. Yeah, fucking love Tiger. He's funny. As then with Deku pushing back Pixie Bob, Mandalay's like, hey, it's okay. Let's not get hostile here. Deku's just like, sorry, what's the word? Glaring. Sorry, I forgot about the word. Glaring Pixie Bob down and somewhat glaring Mandalay. As Pixie Bob's like, you know what? Fuck these kids. As she puts her hands to the ground, then the whole boosh the side of the hill goes down. As it's like, why? As they explain the situation, Deku and Kirishima look at the forest. It's like, all right. Sorry. As they crack their neck, it's like, Kirishima, you ready for this? As it's like, you know it. As they charge into the forest head first, Kirishima using his hardening and superior body and such, just crushing through. As they crush through force like thing after thing. As Deku uses rocks and chucks them, using fire and ice, Kirishima using lightning, combust, and whatever else I gave him, as they clear through the forest relatively quickly. Being like the spear of the spearhead sort of thing. They made it way. Deku even, like, Kirishima tries to introduce himself to Koda, as then he gets the whole nutshot. As instead of Ida comforting, like, Kirishima or, well, Deku, but in this case, Kirishima, it's Deku's like, oh, come on! As he, like, not, oh, come on, but he walks over and, like, helps Kirishima from falling. Kirishima's like, that kid punched me in the nuts. Why? And she's like, I don't know, but it was funny as hell. It's like, man, this is something you don't laugh at. It's like, oh yeah, you can laugh at it. It's just pretty bad too. Seriously. I feel like everyone else around here felt that. As Deku helps him up, it's like, alright, go sit down. Your healing factor should deal with that. As Koda storms off. Deku's like, well, I'm kind of tired. Is everyone else tired? As they're like, no. It's like, I guess it's just me. What are we doing for food? As they get dinner and such. They arrived earlier, by the way. As they all eat, and then eventually the bath scene. Deku and Kirishima are just chilling there. It's like, this feels great. As they shout over, how's the bath, Eri and Mina? They're like, it's great, Deku. Why can't we have one of these at our house? It's because we don't have any natural hot springs. He's like, maybe I should try to get some of those bath bombs I see when we go shopping for shampoo and such. Like, you take Deku shopping with shampoo? Like, he likes to have his hair a certain way. Deku's like, it feels great to not have dry scalp, surprisingly, when you're underwater. Have a tank on your head for, like, most of the day. For a lot of years, it's surprising how much dandruff you have. It's like, ugh. Eventually, they don't have any situation like they do in the anime. Where, like, Mineta tries to jump over. Instead, Koda walks over, hearing the stupid thing. He's like, ugh, stupid. As he walks away, Deku and them, well, Koda wouldn't be up there for a single fact that Aizawa one had notified Mandalay about the, like, Mineta being crazy. And kind of borderline, sex offender. As Deku and them, like, get all that organized and such. And Deku and Kirishima for their, well, Deku's just physical workout. And he's being pushed to even a higher degree than he was before in the anime. Seeing that Tiger would have to, by all means, like, make Deku lift up boulders and such. Kirishima's, like, you working on his quirk. Is, like, all he has to do. His quirk is still tough, but he hasn't really unlocked Unbreakable, if I remember. Yeah. I believe I haven't given him Unbreakable. And what Eri's job will be to do is, like, pretty much heal them back all the way up, and then send them back out again and again and again. Mina's still doing her thing, which I forgot what she was, which I think it was. She throws acid, a lot of acid, essentially, like Oyama with his belly button laser, just keep on throwing it out. Deku's just, like, lifting up, trying to uproot trees and such, and lift boulders over his head and walk, or run even. As one bee sees Deku, like, carrying, like, two logs, like, on his shoulder. It's like, Tiger's like, keep moving, move! Did I tell you to stop? Being old drill sergeant. And Deku's like, no, sir! It's like, now keep pushing it! As then he drops down, it's like, I believe Tiger does the whole, I'm here to beat you into a pulp. And it's like, I got questions about him. But Deku and them go on through this, succeeding. Eventually, Deku does do the whole bringing Koda his food. He's like, doesn't do the whole, I heard what happened to your parents. It's just the whole, here's your food, eat it. Mandalay's worried about you. don't worry your aunt. As he walks away. As Koda's like, shut up. It's like, as he like kicks the food, and he's like, Deku's like, that's it. As he walks over, picks up Koda and just like drags him back to camp. It's like, you just wasted a perfectly good thing of food. Why? This doesn't make any sense. Deku switched to like discipline, like older brother stern Deku. Stern older brother Deku, there we go. As then he drags Koda to camp, tells Mandalay what he did, and Koda's like forced to eat the food. Deku just, does what Deku does. And they go on until eventually, guess what? Attack night. And Deku is still sorted out as he would be. Deku and them still get attacked, and Deku's like, I'll go grab Koda, I know where he's at, as he rushes off, coming face to face with Endeavor, as he doesn't try to, outfight Deku, Muscular. He realizes that's gonna be a dumb thing to do, as he, run away? Possibly, could I freeze him? No. He's, thinking, he's like, alright, let's try this, as he rushes in, sweeping, trying to sweep Muscular's leg, but Muscular muscles up his leg and puts it there as Deku kicks his leg into it, and it's just a sort of, he can feel the bones somewhat crack under the amount of force he put into it. Deku then takes a jump back as Muscular's right on top of him. Deku, instead of trying to run or whatever, he takes his hand, gets a bunch of fire, puts it on Muscular's face, and blasts it with flames, causing Muscular to fall back. This is like, get out of here, Koda. I'll deal with this maniac. As he, gets fire and ice at the ready, so he rushes in, slicing and pretty much burning off, Muscular's tendons, with Deku freezing up his arms and then fracturing them. As he takes Muscular down relatively easy, since he doesn't have to deal with just pure brute strength. As he succeeds in this, he ends up taking Koda after regrouping, and then takes him off. Sorry, Jesus. As then eventually Deku and them are ready, as they make their way. Eventually, when they have to stop Dabi from taking Bakugo, Dabi does this. He's his hand goes out and it turns into a little ball with green lumps on it, as then he throws it at Deku, as Deku's like, what the, as he grabs his head and starts sort of trying to, as he starts talking incoherently, it's like, what the, Deku, are you alright? As then Kirishima goes to place a hand on him, Deku pretty much punches Kirishima, sending him flying. Mina and Eri at this point were with the other group, as well as the whole thing beforehand. Deku ran into Octo Arms and did the whole scenario and blah blah blah. Eventually coming to this part with him throwing Kirishima, as it's just Dabi's take care of them for me, eh, big brother? As he hits Deku a few more times with it. As Deku's standing there he's mindless, as he's hunched down and rushing forward, as Kirishima's, oh, this is gonna be a bitch, as he prepares himself. And that's where I'm cutting this one off at. I hope y'all have enjoyed it, hope y'all continue to enjoy it, and I hope y'all have a nice day, nice night.